Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Tanisha. Happy Thursday. That's the sound. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Oh my God, it's so cold. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I'm just going to give us a couple of minutes to gather some folks. Okay, so I'm really just doing the sound today because it's the sound of my soundtrack of this show. But I'm going to have a drink. But today, I am just chilling some water because I had to use the martini shaker. I think my staff will get a kick out of that. So cheers. Well, no, I'm not going to toast with water. I'm going to toast with this, which is where I'm doing is a nice crisp white, an Orvieto. And I'm just going to cheer with this. So welcome and cheers. A nice white wine. I hope you all have your cocktails. For those of you who don't know, I'm Rob Ruggiero. I'm the producing artistic director at TheatreWorks Hartford. And I want to welcome you to my 20th Get Sauced. This started more regularly when we were in pandemic mode, but now we do it once a month. And this is my 20th, so I'm glad you can share it with me. I said I'm having some nice white wine. I have some chicken in the oven, and I'm going to move right to my guest. I'm going to read because I don't want to mess this up. My guest tonight is the playwright of our upcoming workshop production of Moonlighters. She is a Hartford native who has written and developed plays in and about Hartford. As an actress, she has appeared on screen in Orange is the New Black and on stage at Shakespeare and Company, among others. Playwright, actor, always a great combination. And she has been a long-standing member of Heartbeat Ensemble, a Hartford-based social justice theater run by my friend Godfrey Simmons. And through her work at Heartbeat, she co-wrote the New York Fringe award-winning Flipside and the world premiere docudrama Riding the Turnpike. Her most recent play, Pagao, a bilingual story centering on a Puerto Rican family in the 1970s, was praised by the Hartford Courant as a joyous family drama and sparked the interest in her work across our nation. Please welcome, I'm going to find her now, a local gem. Here she is. Wonderfully talented and fun, Sin Martinez. And I think she's coming. There she is.
Hello.
Hello. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. A toast. A toast.
A toast. Well, what are you drinking?
Well, I should ask, because it was made for me.
Oh, okay. But there's something
tequila?
in there.
It is a tequila mango daiquiri.
Well, I'll be over after the broadcast because I'm having some wine.
You said get sauce.
Yes, absolutely. So cheers and welcome. And how are you doing these days?
I am definitely still coming down from being on cloud nine. Although it was a very quick experience with the actors and rehearsing and doing the rewrites and then eventually filming it. That type of collaboration and that type of way of interacting with other creative people was sort of like medicine to me, especially during this time where things have been so isolating. And so I'm still on that high of just interacting with other humans.
It's special, right? We're so happy that this season we could open up a lot of space for new work and new work nurturing. And, we wanted absolutely at least one of our spaces to be held for a fabulous local playwright. And here you are.
Thank you.
So on behalf of all of us, I want to welcome you to the TheatreWorks Hartford family.
Yeah.
As we know, I first met you at Fuck Up Night.
Yes.
When you told your story, which was so good. And I knew that we would be seeing more of you. So I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah.
And we're excited to have you. Good.
We should let people know in case they don't know what that event was about. We should tell them.
Oh yeah, because I said the word, right? So, well, we're I believe, the national chapter, Connecticut chapter of this thing called Fun Night,
Yeah.
which is FUN, Fuck Up Night, where we have guests come in and tell the story of a big mess up, a big, mess up in their lives and how that changed or grew them. And it's this cool kind of social storytelling, interactive. And your story was fantastic.
Thank you. So,
So.
when it's real and you can like remember those moments so easily, it just makes it that much of a storytelling process that much smoother because it's just so real and embedded.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about Moonlighters, but first I
Sure.
want to talk about you and you, the artist, Sin, the artist. What is it like to be a playwright and be living in Hartford, Connecticut?
So, I was just having this conversation with some other folks too, who we were talking about creative people in the Hartford area or just in Connecticut in general who decided to stay, right? And build community amongst ourselves. And I think that um, we're not lacking in that sense, right? There is such um, an incredible amount of talented and skillful individuals that live in Hartford and in Connecticut, and we also, it's like a tribe, and we lift each other up, and we often find and seek each other out in efforts to collaborate on creative endeavors. And I think although it is a community out here, I think um, that it's something to treasure. And so it is a very nice, warm feeling to be amongst these other creatives. And as a playwright and being a part in an ensemble member of Heartbeat Ensemble and just learning how to create new work,
Yes.
how to work collaboratively, how to, because it just takes a level of bravery to really take an idea that you like really hope audiences will love.
Right.
Um, but you also, you need that collaboration. You need
You
really
need
people that
the
are going to be,
support, right?
yes, and honest about the material just to strengthen it and develop it further. So, I'm grateful to be a playwright in the Hartford area with such wonderful support systems.
Well, we're proud of you. And before we go completely by it, I want to say that one of the great things, the gifts of the pandemics, was really, it created, I feel like it, um, there were like these fences, right? Like
Mhm.
we all wanted to commune and we tried and we were successful sometimes, but there was like every arts organization, every theater,
Yeah.
I say it with my colleagues, and because we all went into crisis and we had our hearts and our minds open, and I feel like that those fences are coming down or are down in many cases,
Hmm.
and so we're able to, I think, really embrace that connection more. And so I couldn't be more grateful to have you here in front of me right now and getting ready for it's very vulnerable. I said I was supposed to unscript, but it's very vulnerable, right, for a playwright in new work.
Yeah.
Like yours is like, I think the first time these words are going to be heard, and that you had an idea which something you wanted to create,
Yeah.
and that we created a space. And as we look forward, it's short, right? And I think we're going to look to see if we can expand that space
Hmm.
as we learn from these experiences. But are there any projects you've written that have stood out that have been real special for you?
I'm certainly, the one that pulls on the heartstrings, of course, is the play before this one, which is Big Owl. I still get messages from people who've seen it already, people who didn't get a chance to see it because maybe their cousin, their sister, someone at work saw it and they just didn't make the cut with all the sold out shows. So, it's one of those projects where like it is really close to my heart, and I hope that it continues to live a long life.
Well, who
Uh,
knows, right? It may get a reappearance.
yeah, something. I
Um,
mean, folks are like they want it back, and so I just have to help make it happen. Just because it is a fun, like you said, it's fun, it's joyous, it is a family drama, but it transports people back to the island of Puerto Rico, and you know people want it.
and the play, I didn't see it. I wish I had.
Mm.
Is it half in English and half in Spanish?
I would say so. Probably 60-40. We have one character, which is the grandmother, the abuela. She doesn't break. She speaks Spanish only. And so when she's spoken to, it has to be in Spanish for it to make sense. But the other three characters in the play flip flop between English and
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
And I bet it's a great opportunity, right? A great story is always a good opportunity to understand each other without having to understand like all the
Hmm.
words, right? It opens
Yeah,
us up.
yeah.
Um, Recently, Hartford was named the one of the best, number one, actually, the best city for artists in America. As an
Mhm.
artist living in Hartford,
Yeah.
why do you think that's true? Or do you not?
I you know I do think it's true. I think we have been for so long like this best kept secret, and everyone just like kind of seemed to believe that there is either New York, you skip over Connecticut, and you're in Boston, right? And we have been like holding hands with both sides. Everyone that has a show there might come through here,
Right.
perform, and then continue on to Boston. And so we've always been that middle ground. um but we have our own identity, and it's something that has become more visible and visible lately, and so we're just waiting for the rest of the world to catch on.
We are.
Seriously.
Is there something about being here that inspires you? I mean, either I know you write from your family,
Mhm.
from a family perspective a lot
Yeah.
too, but like being somebody connected here and writing in some cases about here, not always, but writing
Yeah.
while you're here.
Yeah.
Is there anything about being here, this community, any connection, particular connection that inspires you to write sometimes?
Yeah, I think just being in this space, right? Just knowing the history, the richness in its histories, all the migrations, all the different cultures that have lived in the Hartford area, and we still see the restaurants, the places, the churches, everything. The history is very visible here, and also, there is just so much. If you look to your left, you look to your right, there's so much to see and to take in. And so with that, it's just easy to be inspired. Like, you don't have to really sort of look for things that could really help in writing something. Like, it's all around you if you just check it out.
Wow. It is true. It is.
Yeah.
And new things keep popping up. And I feel like we at Theater Works Hartford, and speaking for myself personally, trying to find the opportunities in this transition. I don't think we're going to go back to what was. I
Yeah.
think we're going forward to
Hmm.
something else and
What could be.
something new. That's really exciting. And
Yeah.
that must be really exciting for a writer. But
Yeah.
while you're here as Moonlighters, so we call you up and say, we want you to have one of these spaces,
Hmm.
and we didn't even know what you wanted to work on or whatever. What you pick up that story. So you said yes, obviously, because you're
Yeah.
here.
Yes.
And why did you want to work on this piece? And tell people who are listening in, like, what is the piece about and what inspired you to write it?
Sure. So, before I was done with writing, and I mean, it's really and truly it's never ever done, but when I was close to feeling like I was done with writing Big Owl, this idea has already flown to me. It already attached itself to me. Moonlighters. I knew the world of the play before I knew what the story was. um I knew that I knew that the story followed an individual who transitioned from living into the afterlife. I knew that. I also knew that there were a group of people working on behalf of helping the living, guiding the living, and trying to influence them. I also, throughout the years, have been surrounded by friends who work in the social service agency in the field, different positions, but all of the same aim, and that's to influence and to guide people into living better lives, healthier lives, and moving past trauma. So just literally those dots connected to me that this is the agents, like this is what these characters are doing, this is how they're working. And right there is when I just began to uncover more and more about like what is like the question that I'm asking, and what is really going on in the story. And more than anything else, and it started like my earlier drafts, like when I was working on an outline and trying to figure this out, at the center, it was about a romantic relationship. And I pivoted and I decided to change that completely and really make it about a friendship,
Wow.
between two women, and how that is to be valued. And that, it's not always about like that romantic relationship that is very strong.
I almost
You can
said
have a lot of
I
love there
almost
for
said
a
it,
friend.
it often is about that. So I love that you made the choice to explore a
Yeah.
different but other intimate loving
Yes,
relationship.
absolutely.
Friendship is a very powerful relationship. So
Yeah.
so for like we will have done 5 of these by the end of this season. This is
Mm.
your number 4.
Okay.
And so we've done things at different phases, like just hot off the paper, hot off the
Mhm.
computer,
Mhm.
really fresh, to things that have already had a little bit of exploration, to
Mhm.
things that are really close. And it's a process, and it's very different for every play. But tell us a little bit about where were you when you started this, and if I can impose on you, because they're tired of hearing from me all the time, like what your process was like doing in the creative workshop space,
Mhm.
workshop series space, and then how did the piece change from when you started it and when you ended it, and the very limited time you had.
Yeah. So, so when I was getting ready to really work on this and like have a timeline and have, what I wanted to get out of this workshop series, it was about a little over 20 pages, maybe close to 30 actually, of content, because I did sort of play around with the idea. I wanted to see if it had any pull, like if the idea was really going to grab audiences. So I first introduced it during Hartford's Fringe Festival, the very first one, just to test the waters with it. I wasn't sure about this. It was magical realism. It was a different world, different realm from my last piece. So I wasn't so super confident at that point. So I
Yeah,
needed
yeah.
to get a pulse. So during the Fringe Festival, like we didn't, it had, time slots. So we had to like get out for the next show to set up. So when the audiences followed me outside to have an impromptu talk back outside of the Carriage House Theater on Farmington Avenue, we were outside talking about what they just saw.
That's a
And
good sign.
yeah, so I said, okay, I'll keep it. I'll keep working at this. So fast forward into me choosing this to be the one that I work on. I continue to develop for the workshop series, like, from those almost 30 pages to deciding that I wanted to remove the romantic relationship, make it a focus on the friendship between the two women, the two Latinas at the workplace. I then had to really sort of also think how, they speak the same language, so how are they going to communicate with each other? And I wanted to make sure that I didn't lose sight of that very special love language between the two from the beginning. And so that was like one of the things that I told my dramaturg Daphne to hold me accountable for. like, don't let me forget. Don't let, hold me to that this is what I really want to make sure makes it into this draft. Um,
You just gave me like the perfect bridge
okay.
because with
I'll sit to that.
developmental work, having honest conversations with your artists is the difference between like creating something cohesive and relevant and powerful and transformative and not. So we also tried to give, support around, and you worked with Daphne, and I'm pronouncing her name. I think it's Secret.
Mm-hmm.
Secret.
Mm-hmm.
Daphne and Jen Thompson was your director. Daphne was your dramaturg.
Yes.
And we when we saw that it would be helpful to you to have a dramaturg, we also went for it because and so I'm curious, working with your dramaturg and director, how do you feel? How was their influence felt in the process of the work?
Well, it was very neat because right off the bat, Daphne really understood where I was going with this. Like, and it was like, I had to take a deep breath because I'm like, whoo, okay. Again, that's another checkpoint. That's another way for me to test it out and get a pulse on, like, am I way off here? Is this entertaining? Like, is this good? So, she knew where I was going with this. She knew that it had, potential, and that we just worked on the gaps. We worked on what was needed. We had to really think about, asking essential questions to really help shape the piece. And again, reminding me that this is a workshop. This is a workshop. Because I was literally going hard, and she had to pull me back like, this is a workshop. Loosen up a little bit. I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's when you can get there.
Hard on ourselves.
We are, and there's a lot of pressure to do something more finished than it needs to be, because we put stuff in front of an audience, right? Even a virtual audience, and it's like, but we don't let them get reviewed. We so it's meant to try to be a safe space, so you can both have success, and maybe in some cases, I say this in the good sense, some failure or some challenges, or like,
for sure.
Oh, now I see that because I did this, that I need to do this. That is the value for a director or a playwright or an actor in a workshop. So good that you got there.
Yeah, and also too, the wonderful thing about it being streamed or filmed is that it really does help for notes, like tremendously. Like, when you're in the traditional sense, when you're workshopping a play, you're in person, it happens one time, the read through happens, and you go through multiple reads, but it's still like moments that are gone. And so when you film it, you can always go back and go, oh yes, I did want to work on this section.
I can always go back, right? Because you can reference it. Or the plus I love as when you're filming, although you only have so much time, but you could do a scene again, and if you capture something that's special, then it's also there forever.
Yes.
So one of the things besides, and how was Jen? Jen's a good friend of mine, the director.
She I will explain some moments during rehearsal and during filming that I live for. And those are moments when a director she did her thing. She found these really juicy moments that I got caught up in, like, enjoying. I was so into it, what she made happen, right, with these awesome actors, that I forgot that I wrote it.
Wow.
Those are moments I live for.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And it's, playwrights write, and this comes out. And, I am a director, not all of them. I believe that directors and actors, that we serve the play. So and then some directors don't feel that way. But I've worked on plays where, my intention was to serve the play, and I just kind of mind that, and I've worked on that. And I've had playwrights come and been very happy, but have said, I had no idea that I wrote that. I didn't know that was in there, because they say whether you're even a director or a playwright, that that what is inside, like what is there, goes into the work, even though you don't consciously put it in. So that's exciting to hear.
It
So
is super exciting.
one of the
And
other
even
things that
like,
good.
and even like, there were some moments that in the play where in the style that I wrote it involved some processing, like involved some, okay, this is what the intention, like she was definitely like uncovering some stuff to get to the root of what that moment was really about. And I appreciated that so much so. And you know that we are going to come to a full stop at some point to really just pause and really go through a particular moment or two. And that to me was just like, you know what, cheers to Jen,
You know, yeah,
and
Jen,
Daphne,
she's amazing.
the whole
Cheers to
team.
Jen and Daphne.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, one of the things I want to just quickly share, because you remind me, if you've ever read the history of like Fiddler on the Roof, you know, Fiddler on the Roof. And Jerome Robbins was like, what is it about? Like they kept working on the opening number and that voice saying, but what is it about? What's the event? What are you writing? And the writers kept saying, it's about da 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 da. And then what is it about? And then just with that pushing, they got to, it's about tradition and and holding on to tradition. And hence you have the very famous 50-something-year-old
Yeah.
show. And it really would not have been it had that spine not been mined from those collaborators. So,
Yeah.
and so one of the other things we wanted to do for artists like you is use our connections and connect you with, share our network out, because, you know, it's in this business, those tentacles meet a lot.
Yeah.
So you met with a few of our usual suspects. Tell me about your time with Tanya Sriracha and James Anthony Tyler, who did one of these shots, Magic Potion, earlier this year. So you had some connection with Tanya and James. What was that like? Give us some inside scoop.
All right. So, you know, I'll start with James first, because the
James is your mentor, right?
James,
he was your official mentor.
Yeah. And you know, you always need a person on your corner to keep it real with you, to really ground you, to really keep you focused on things that you may lose sight of when it's just so much going on. There's deadlines, there's, you know, content that has to be written or rewritten. I mean, you know, James came in at a point where my head was spinning, okay? Spinning,
I know.
all right? And so, like, talk about needing someone to anchor you. That was James.
His energy is so awesome.
And lovingly so. He anchored me.
But he anchored you, right?
Yeah. So it, you know, and it's sometimes, you know, when the head starts spinning, you need someone to literally take you back to the basics, take you back to those fundamental things in script writing, and just remind you. And that's what he was for me. And so, you know, I wanted to make him proud. So
good.
bad, you know. And so I'm sending him, you know, the latest script again to look at. So, you know, for more notes and all that good stuff. But now let's switch it over to Tanya.
And Tanya is such a blast to just be around. And she did, for those of you who are listening, she wrote Fade, a play that we did a few seasons ago, and does a lot of TV work.
Yes, she did Vida, that I believe was on Stars, which I thought was an incredible show. Kudos to her. So we were able to get on the phone for a little over an hour and really talk shop. Like, you know, we talked a little bit about her journey. We talked about how our paths like almost crossed like 2 times before she like exploded in the world of writing. And, you know, and then how I went to a conference for Latino writers and directors and filmmakers in Los Angeles. I treated myself to that conference for my birthday 2 Augusts ago. And she
Wow.
was there and she spoke. And I was right there, like 3 rows back, listening to her speak. But she's truly a gem. She's lovely, and we did a lot of bonding about like the journey of being a Latina writer.
That was the
And
hope. Was the
yeah.
hope behind it that, this, it's so clear knowing her and knowing you, that you get you in the same room, that
Mhm.
there'll be a connection, we hope. And then the
Yes.
bigger hope is that you'll stay connected. And,
Sure.
there was I wish I could remember his name now, but a director in Chicago who
Mhm.
she opened a lot of doors for because she just supported him.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
And so, and she talked about the power and representation as a Latinx writer. She talked about, moments of like feeling like, man, I just lucked out in this moment. Like, yes, I was prepared. Yes, I did the work. But man, this was like a chance moment that really turned my career around and really elevated things. So yeah. And then, and I told her I was going to send her a link to Moonlighters
oh,
so she could
yes.
watch. I was like, I know you're busy, but if you got an hour.
Oh my God. That
And
is
she was
awesome.
like, she said something's in the air with the world of like life after life. She said, because she's just was in a writer's room with a similar concept, and a few other things been coming out, like the whole sci-fi futuristic twist of life after life.
There's a whole
It's
show on
trending.
Netflix.
It's trending. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. Oh my gosh. I just got a call from Los Angeles.
We could talk forever.
Just now.
Before we get to there's a little fun part of the show. It takes, you're so brave. I want to say to everybody out there, put out work, even though it's exciting too, it takes bravery. And that's one of our core values. And when I think of playwrights sharing early drafts of their work on the internet, there is nothing more brave. And I hope we protect you. We got your back. Like we really try. I mean, it says a work in progress but it takes a lot of bravery. How do you think audience feedback will play into future development? And do you have any rules that you use as it relates to audience and their responses to your work? Like, how do you know what to listen to, what not listen to? You know what I mean? It's like so subjective, but bravery and like connection to audience. What do you think is going to take you here? What do you think is the next step?
You're right about the bravery part. Like it, and then you add the layer of like anyone in the world could watch this from anywhere.
Right.
And then you just take it up like 10 notches with that alone. And I've like, that has been like causing my heart rate to go up.
No, it's all good.
This whole time. But again, everyone's like, it's okay, it's okay. So I'm okay now, but like, you asked me this 2 weeks ago, and I would have been like, "Oh my God, this is crazy!" This is crazy.
Like the people that understand, the profession. I'll just say everybody understands, but the professionals that really would influence this understand what workshop framework is.
Yeah.
And but what is that? How do you manage audience feedback?
So I really do look for very specific moments that made a particular audience member feel something as what I'm willing to like sort of keep and take with me. I remember experiencing a workshop before, and someone telling me something about how it should be, because that's just how they felt. And I was just like, that I will not take.
Wow. Yeah, it's great. It is. And, people are very strong about their feelings. And it sounds like you have the ability to translate, to understand what is really about that other person, or
Yeah.
what really might be valuable. I remember
Yeah.
when I was doing a show out of town as a director, and this woman came up to me
Uh-huh.
and gave me this feedback, and I
Okay.
was like, thank you. And
Yeah.
then she continued to give me more feedback, and I said, and then I tried to explain why we had to do what we did, and I was engaging, and then I got more feedback, and then this is so not me. Finally,
Right.
I was like, well, when you direct your production of this play, you can do that.
Seriously. Like, right. Put it back on them. Like, have you considered doing this work?
Right?
You
It looks
should.
so easy. I mean, at the end of all this work, it's so effortless. So I said one more, but just because I don't think we answered it, how much did it change
Yes.
from when you started the workshop rehearsals to the
Mhm.
end of the filming?
So I was literally reworking lines until like day one of filming.
Wow, good.
And it was little, it wasn't anything major, but man, like again, something would stick out and I'm like, oh God, no, let's change that. Let's tweak that really quick. And I try to be mindful because I also have a film production background, so I know how essential time is with filming. So I didn't do it too much, but I
No,
was
it's good
definitely.
though. Isn't it amazing how a change of a phrase or a change of a line or even a change of a word
Mhm.
can completely alter a moment?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
all right, on to something fun.
Okay, I'm
I
almost
always
out of
end
my
with
drink.
game time, and we're going to go back to an old favorite, which I call lightning round. Lightning round
Okay.
is where I throw out questions at you, and I'll start off with some easy ones, and you just have to say whatever comes to your head, and we get to know a little bit more about you, and you get to have some fun. Uh-oh, are you there? Ah, you froze on me. I hope you're coming back. Hello, hello. Ah, hello. Ah, losing you. Oh no. Well, just when we get to the good part, we lost our playwright. I'll wait a second to see if she comes back. She must be having uh, internet issues. Oh, anyway, it was so much fun, and if she comes back on, we'll do a little PS. But I really want to thank Sin for joining me, and hopefully she can come back and answer these questions. One of the things we've been excited about is to reinvigorate as a regional theater is our historic role in cultivating and supporting artists and new work. I'm so thrilled to recommit TheaterWorks Hartford to this tradition with Sin and all the other playwrights that worked with us this year. I can't wait for you all to see the early fruits of Moonlighters and for our theaters in our region to see Sin and her work. Thank you all for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure being with you on Instagram Live. Our next Instagram Live features the creatives of our big summer project, Walden, which is our return to person event, but it's outside, immersive, environmental, and it's going to blow your mind. So that will be opening in July, and we'll have those creatives here right before. Um, how exciting it is to be out in the world and to feel a reemergence of humanity and not wear the mask quite so much. I'll leave with a personal personal support of like, get vaccinated. I'm vaccinated. I feel so safe and freer in the world. Goodbye. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have an awesome June. Take care.